On today's show, we're getting into the latest Celtics news and rumors, but first, if you want to stay in the know with this basketball team, this is your one-stop shop for the best Celtics coverage here on YouTube. So hit that red subscribe button down below. We're closing in on 8,000 subscribers. Let's get there by the turn of the new year. Let's ride. Welcome into Boston Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. We start off today's show with getting into some Celtics trade rumors. There's no doubt, in my opinion, the Celtics could use some upgrades to that roster. Could it come in the form of Buddy Hield? This coming from Jordan Schultz, does a podcast with CJ McCollum. Kings have made guard Buddy Hield available, league sources say. His three-point shooting percentage and overall scoring ability could be a huge boost to a contending team searching for added floor spacing. I'm told the asking price is hefty, but feasible. Also, his contract somewhat hefty, but you can certainly deal with that considering the player that Buddy Hield is. Having a really good season up to this point for a garbage franchise in the Sacramento Kings, averaging 16 points per game, a little more than 2 dimes, but you don't have to worry about that because that's not why you bring him in. He is shooting around 39% from the floor, but primarily he is letting it fly from deep, and he is very good in that category. Up to 38% almost from beyond the arc is Buddy Hield. Since he came into the NBA, one of the most efficient shooters from long range alongside Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. That is not opinion. That is what the numbers do indicate. Now, Hield is a pure bucket getter, and I would like this for a couple of reasons. One, the Celtics are a game below 500, and they're somewhat flawed, even though I do love the roster construction with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Outside of that, don't really like it. I think Buddy Hield could be a good player in addition to those guys. And why I also like it, if this is a core that you want to continue to build with, I think you can play Hield, Brown, Tatum, all on the floor together because they're not going to clash from an on-court style fit. Jason Tatum can drive it to the cup. So too can Jaylen Brown. Buddy Hield ain't that type of guy. He'll camp out around the perimeter. So if the defenses collapse on some of those driving lanes, either JT, JB can kick the rock to the outside, and Buddy Hield can put the biscuit in the basket. There's also this, though. Man, the Celtics really do need a true point guard at this point. They have been bereft of that position all throughout this year, and I think that's a big reason why they've been such an inconsistent team and why they are a game under 500. They lost that game to the Philadelphia 76ers in part because who was really controlling the basketball late at the point guard position? They don't have that cat. I mean, Peyton Pritchard, despite some of these COVID concerns on the roster, was getting that run. I like him as a backup, and I've never thought that Marcus Smart was going to be the go-to point guard on this team. So some questions with this roster, and maybe they're able to answer some of those questions with a player like Buddy Hield. So what do you think? Would you give up Marcus Smart for Buddy Hield? Type Y for yes, type N for no. The reason why I'm asking this is because those contracts somewhat similar, and in order to bring in Buddy Hield's contract, you might have to trade away a player like Marcus Smart. So let me know what you're feeling on that front. Now, as I mentioned, been a difficult season to start for the Celtics at 15-16, and they've also dealt with some injury issues, but just like last year, some more COVID concerns and issues as well. Currently, Boston has 7 players in COVID protocols. Dennis Schroeder, Romeo Langford now out with non-COVID issues, and because of that, the NBA has had to tinker with some of its rules in terms of how many players you can have on the roster. There are now emergency signings, basically, that can be made by some of these teams to fill out the back half of the roster. So you're seeing a bunch of journeymen sign with these NBA teams, including in Boston. They did ink Justin Jackson and CJ Miles to contracts. Let's get you caught up with who these players are and where they last played and when they last played, because there's a reason they haven't been on rosters up to this point, and they can thank basically these COVID protocols for landing on some of these teams. So CJ Miles last played 2019-2020 with the Wizards. Career 35.8 three-point shooter. He is a veteran presence for the short term. Do not expect CJ Miles to be on this team for the long haul. He is just a short answer right now. As for Justin Jackson, I liked him coming out of college. He's been okay at points throughout his NBA career because he can be a 3-and-D guy and knock down three-point shooter. Played for the Thunder and the Bucks last year. Does have some scoring ability at different ranges, mostly from deep. And look, if he's able to come in and knock down some three-point shots, he could stick past this 10-day contract with the Boston Celtics. Also, Josh Richardson, Jabari Parker in COVID protocols right now. It really is a fluid situation, and any given day you're getting the tweets and the updates from Shams and Woj about all these players going into COVID protocols. Now, Jackson could play to give Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown a rest. Similar body type. He can stretch the floor. He can occupy some of those wing spots as well. That's something to keep an eye out for Ime Udoka and this roster as we move forward in what has been a crazy and hectic NBA season up to date. Who do you think will make the bigger impact? Type CM for CJ Miles, JJ for Justin Jackson. Be sure to get your votes in the comment section right now. Now, if you didn't get your holiday shopping in, it is never too late, thanks to our friends at Fanatics. And right now, this Boston Celtics hoodie available 50% off only if you use that link down below. It's chatsports.com/Celtics hoodie. Was $70, now $35. It's a killer deal, and we're all looking to save some money during our holiday season. Before we get to some Isaiah Thomas news next up on today's show, just take a quick look at the Celtics' upcoming schedule. Couple of games against some really quality opponents to see where the Celtics do stand in the East, and then against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference. Just see how they fare against some of the better teams in the NBA. Timberwolves surprising a lot of people, by the way. They have an opportunity to make it into the playoffs. December 22nd, Cleveland Cavaliers. As of right now, that Christmas Day game going to be on against the Milwaukee Bucks. Really good matchup in the East. Then December 27th against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, the C's situation with injuries, with COVID issues is bad. There's no question about that. But that has really been one of the key storylines of this NBA season for all teams out there. All teams are basically having to go to the free agent market and pluck some of these players that have been playing at the local YMCA to continue their NBA careers. It's bad for the Celtics. It's bad for everybody else as well. Now, Isaiah Thomas did sign with the rival Los Angeles Lakers. A lot of Celtics fans were hitting me up. They're like, yo, Chase, why didn't the Celtics reunite with IT? Well, look, I think he went to a better basketball situation for himself in Los Angeles, and Marcus Smart did talk about Isaiah Thomas, who really was a Celtics hero for a couple of years there. MVP race back a couple of years ago in that 2016 season. I'm just proud that he gets another chance, said Marcus Smart, or Marcus Smart. He's been doing everything he could to show the world that he's still got it. I think he was written off a little bit early, but that dude's a fighter, a warrior, and I'm just happy that somebody gave him a chance. I wish it could have been us who signed him. I'm really close with IT, but I'm glad somebody did sign him. I did try to get him to Boston, but, there's only so much I can do. It's a business on that part. Now, of course, when IT was with the Celtics, he was very, very good. 25.5 points per game. A little more than 6 times, shot around 44.5% from the floor and 37% from distance. That MVP near campaign, in which he suffered a hip injury, which cut his season short, was awesome. And I think it goes down as one of the most surprising and impressive feats and seasons that we've seen from a Celtics player, because nobody kind of expected him to do that, and he did it at that size. So would you have taken IT back on the Celtics? That's my next question for everybody watching on Boston Celtics Today. You let me know right now. Type 1 for yes, type 0 for no. I know so many people were invested in bringing back IT because this guy's a Celtics legend. Your opportunity to sound off and let your feelings be felt.